thing I'll quickly throw in there, and that is that so perfection then is not the absence of a thing. It's not just the absence of evil. It's the presence of love and relational integrity. And I loved what you said the other day. So simple. There were no hospitals and there were no police cars or policemen. So that's so. But it wasn't just the absence of a thing. It was the presence of this beautiful, relational, harmonious picture.
Hey, by the way, do you guys know what Eden means? E-D-E-N, the word Eden?
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure. I mean, that's lost on the common reader, I think. I don't think you just, it's a place like Chicago. But what does it mean? The word means pleasure. So God created the man and the woman, and he put them in an environment. And what did God call the environment he put them in? Pleasure.
That's right.
I've made you, and I've put you in the garden of pleasure.
That goes back to what we were saying earlier. The purpose for God creating man was to know him and to enjoy him forever.
Yeah.
And
Just
it
look at
reminds
how
me
we're
of
made.
But in our world today, it seems like pleasure has been hijacked. And when we think of pleasure, oftentimes it's the P word. He said the P word. You know, it's something that's often attached to shame and other things when it was created by God.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a Bible verse, and I was just wanting to look this up in a different version here. Psalm 16, and I really like this iPad. Psalm 16 and verse 11, it says, "You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore."
Yeah.
So pleasure, there's this idea, as you said, Jeffrey, and it's picked up in the Bible. In Hebrews, for example, it talks about Moses, who was Pharaoh. He could have been Pharaoh in Egypt, but he chose to suffer with the affliction of his people rather than to enjoy the pleasure of sin for a season. And I really like that because God created in the beginning, he created an environment that had us enjoying pleasure forevermore. In Hebrews, the definition of the pleasure that the world has to offer now, post-creation, post-fall, is for a season.
Yeah, fleeting.
It's fleeting, it's seasonal, it's temporary, it's not forever.
Superficial.
It's superficial.
Is sin a parasite on God's original intent for pleasure?
That's a great way to explain it. I mean,
Has
that's a
the
great way to
devil,
see it.
has the fall of mankind hijacked the human system and used it for illicit kinds of pleasures, but there's nothing in and of itself that God made that is bad. I mean, just look at what you are. Look at what I am. God created the man and the woman. We have eyes to see things, and he created a profusion of
Pornography, for example. You see that as an epidemic in our society today. And it seems like that when you get hooked on it, you just need more and more and more and more and more. Now, one of the greatest, I think, ways to heal that disease, if you will, that addiction, is to find the way that God created us to have that kind of sexual satisfaction and pleasure, intimate pleasure. And that's in the context of marriage, commitment, long-term, the wholeness that satisfies and doesn't have you craving for that which isn't satisfying but for a moment.
So what you're saying there, I love what you were saying there, and it ties in directly with what Ty was just saying, and that is that there is a parasitizing. In other words, pornography is bad because it's a perversion of what God made to be good.
Exactly.
So,
the
in the
same
beginning,
with food, void of
intimacy.
nutrition.
Just like we talked about Song of Solomon.
Or everything else.
Everything else.
Anything.
Where I was going to go with that, though, I began with the eyes, but look at what you are. Look at what I am. You have eyes to see beautiful things. You can use them to see bad things.
Yes.
You have ears to hear good things. You can use them to hear bad things. You have a tongue to taste good flavors. Think about this. God's the one who engineered the human system in this way, right? So you could say with total biblical accuracy that the human being literally is an engineering marvel in the sense that we are pleasure machines. I don't like that word, but we are made, put it that way. We're made to experience pleasure. God created human beings, put them in the garden of pleasure. When we come to the fall of mankind, what we're dealing with is everything that God made good, very good, being hijacked and turned.
Perverted.
Perverted, that's a great word. to evil purposes, to wrong purposes. And then I love the point you're making, James. Then there's no real sustained satisfaction.
Right.
It's short, it's transitory, it's like a fix.
Yes.
It's like you take in a short little burst of self-centered pleasure, but you're not experiencing the long-term sustained pleasure of other-centered love.